Now that I've completed True Hitless Heroes of the Spire, I'm qualified to make a guide on it, and I know people are going to need a guide because I need a guide and they don't exist. So here it is. Footage of the 4 bosses being completed hitless. I'll give general guidelines, the strategies I used, and advice on how to improve to get to the point that you're doing this. But regardless of where you are, one of the bosses is complete entry level. The 2 others will probably take a few attempts for most people, and the last one is only possible for me once I designed a whole method. But now that I have the method, I can do it consistently over and over and over. So I know a lot of people are probably going to want that, so they can repeat that too. And I'm obligated to share it because I don't want to see people struggling the same way I did. It took me probably 20 attempts, and the worst part is getting a solo Heroes of the Spire dungeon is next to impossible. So starting out, to do this, you came and press play. You got to go to the server list and scroll all the way down to where it's 1, 2, and 3 people in the servers. And you got to choose a server, right? I recommend doing this in the website because if you do it in the app, it'll keep resetting your server list and you aren't going to get a server first try. 1, because there's hackers everywhere. First tip, don't go in a server with a bacon hair. Second tip, surprisingly, the servers with 3 or 4 people seem to work better. But also make sure to check your ping because you're not pressing play and it's probably going to put you in a server with 200 ping. So you got to find a server that has John Doe spawned, no hacker, and your good ping. Before you're even in the boss, that's the gauntlet you got to run through. So you're in the server, finally, ping's good, John Doe is spawned. If you don't know how to check your ping, all you got to do is press escape, scroll down, and check performance stats. It'll appear at the top right, then you can close it again. Anything under 100 is really good. I'm doing this in a server with 130 ping just to prove that you don't need perfect ping, especially for the first boss. So anyways, you got to run all the way up. There's no tellies for the biomes yet. Once you're at John Doe, be careful. You're doing it alone. I clear the mobs out usually before fighting the boss. If anyone shows up in these tiny servers, usually just saying, I want a solo Spire, will get them to leave. People are pretty understanding, surprisingly. And so once you're in the dungeon, the requirements for Slicer, that's the first one, very easy, free, is about 800 DPS. Your goal is to kill him before Strawberry Phase. In order to do that, you need about 800 DPS. So anything on a DPS build like a sword, Snow King Blade, Icebreaker, Boom Weaver, Adventurer's Dirk, John Doe's Dagger probably work. You could probably get away with a high dex Frostbow too. If there's anything over like 800, you can always supplement your DPS with a spell. I bring a Venom spell. If that's still not enough, you can always stockpile mana potion. And all you really need is the Venom spell. And all you do is spam E and spam spacebar, and that's 800 DPS plus your weapon. So no matter what weapon you're using, it's enough. So if you've been watching, very easy, right? You just lure him to the bottom right corner, stay in front of him. He's designed in a way that if you're in front of where he's dashing, it's just, there's always a gap. We'll start Strawberry Phase as soon as he gets to the center. So the farther you pull him back, the more time you have to kill him. But overall, completely free. Anybody can do this with decent DPS. It shouldn't really be much trouble. And if he does start Strawberry Phase, it's not an automatic lose. It's just very difficult to avoid everything during that phase compared to the first phase. But you can still kill him in that time. If you have him in the red, you might as well go for it, but be very careful. On to Crusher, who is, in my opinion, twice as difficult to flawless as all the other 3 combined. But with my method, you shouldn't have that much trouble with it. I don't anymore. The first phase, Petal Phase. I recommend staying in between the petals. Don't go in the little centers because they get squished and stuff. And the DPS isn't even that important during this fight. You can kind of lack DPS during this just because the final phase is where you kill him. Your entire goal during this fight is to get him to the end. When he spawns the guys after Petal Phase, kill them. They are priority. There's a time run when he phases to the next phase. So completely ignore that. Just go to kill the guys because the guys will get you to fail if you don't. But you do have like 30 seconds to do it. Then when they're dead, just do damage on the boss. Again, DPS doesn't really matter during the beginning part of the fight. You just need to get them to like 70, 80% and you'll be completely fine. When he starts throwing the hammers and the bombs, just kite around the edge. You might get hit by accident. There are some fastball hammers, but other than that, just most of the time you're going to be fine. So just run in the center. Don't try to ego this. Don't try to do damage. The damage doesn't even matter. Just avoid it. You'll start Petal Phase and then go to a corner. Find a corner where the guy is not near the wall. He's like out away. And then just repeat this movement back and forth, back and forth. Avoid it. This phase lasts like 20 seconds. And after this phase, it becomes a mad dash to kill him, but there's really no timer. He will chase you forever. And it's completely free. Like, his projectiles don't really reach you very far. I recommend using an Ahi's Reaper, very long range weapon for this phase specifically, because you can just fully cheese it. Again, I got a little bit extra damage in the Petal Phase. Doesn't really matter. When I first did this, he was like 40% starting the end phase. The next time I did it, he was like 70%. This time I did, he's about half. And you'll see, I just kite him and it's completely free. This is pretty consistent. I did this twice in a row just to make sure it was consistent. It really doesn't require that much skill. You just need to be able to dodge the pedals a bit and, you know, not troll completely. Other than that, as you can see, completely just kiting. He just doesn't even hit you. It's free. He Reaper OP. And I already completed it, so there's no achievement pop up, but you understand. On to Baller, who is definitely the simplest one. So there's not really much of a method other than kiting in a circle and just avoiding the projectiles. They're very simple, you know. All I can say is that this phase, the beginning phase, is the phase you want to be doing damage on, not the second one, because that one you want to focus on dodging. First phase, you know, the projectiles are completely free because, you know, you're dodging the green ones and the red ones are basically nothing. If you get hit by the green ones, you're going to die anyway. This phase, purple ball phase, this is where you focus on dodging. Don't try to get too much damage. It doesn't matter, you know, focus on dodging. The one major tip is when he shoots the little double balls, like two that like expand and make a gap in the middle, don't ever try to run through the gap in the middle. You won't make it unless you're like 100 speed. That's the one thing you should avoid. That's just an insta fail. You'll lose. Other than that, you know, don't be too greedy with damage. Just hang out. Don't die, of course, because if you're getting hit, you're probably going to die because it's going to be by the big green ones if you're avoiding all the red ones. Aki's Reaper makes this very simple. Gives you a lot of time to react. You know, there's no real race to do DPS. And as soon as he starts chasing you again, like that's the cycle complete. He's back to the first phase, completely free. Just kill him, no diff, absolutely free, generational. I'm sure most people would do this very easily. Last but not least, Piercer. This boss is kind of a battle of patience just because the projectiles do no damage, but there's so many of them, which makes it sort of the bane of flawless. It's almost like you're not meant to dodge them all. For the first phase, you know, I like to go to where he's going because he'll run through my projectiles. But of course, not every time I can do that. You got to be pretty like on top of that. But again, just like Crusher, it's not really a race. You're just trying to get to the end phase because you will repeat this. You just have to survive a full cycle. If you have crazy DPS, I imagine you could probably delete him during this phase. But usually for most people, that's not going to happen. During the arrow phase where he spams, this is the phase, they do 8 damage, but there's just so many of them. There is a cycle to like run around him, but again, that is a speed requirement. I don't want to make a guide for something that requires like 100 speed, but use that to get a bit of damage when you see it and notice it. You know, once this phase is over, he spawns the little guys in the corners. Those make it kind of tough. He'll blitz for a tiny bit, like he'll do this little like machine gun in the center saying back off, and then they'll despawn again. Then once you're done all that, you get back to the first phase and you're just repeating the process. And as long as you can get 50-60% of this phase, it doesn't matter what damage you do in the other phases, and you'll just be done. This one has no pop-up for me because these are all like re-recorded clips. I only had a clip for Baller when I first did it. In conclusion, you know, some general information that you might need. You can only do one attempt for one boss per run. If you fail in another boss, you can't try it for, you know, Baller, say. If you fail in Slicer, you can't do Baller. It just counts as the full dungeon fail. So start with the boss you want to attempt. And look, little JoJo player cameo, you know, he's a guy. I'm sure he'll like that he's in here. And just the last thing I want to show, you know, I never claimed it. You know, I'm Mythic rank. There's no rank after Mythic. It just goes to whatever, you know, 132 or 175, so that's cool. I've not done Floral Depths yet, so no guide for that because I don't know how to do it. And comment whatever other dungeon you probably want a true hitless guide on. I've done most of them. If I see a lot of the same suggestion, if I have a good method for it, I'll make a guide on that. And aside from that, you know, I stream 6 p.m. EST, smiley face. And I hope you have no problems getting a server that doesn't have a hack or anything. And if you're looking at this, you know, watching this video and thinking, man, I'm never going to be good enough to do this despite the methods I've come up with, just focus on doing the world boss with a team and really focus on doing it perfectly while still getting a decent amount of damage, right? Like when I first did this boss, you know, Slicer killed me, but now it's a completely free hitless. Everything is easy once you learn it. I have no outro. Goodbye.